Hello, my name is Andrew Thake from Mines and Money, and I'm delighted that Sam Lee, Chief Executive Officer of NorthIsle Copper and Gold, is joining us today. Hello to you, Sam.
Hi, Andrew. How are you? Good to be back.
Great. Perhaps you can go and start off by telling our viewers a little bit about NorthIsle Copper and Gold.
Sure. Our North Island project is a mining scale asset. We've got about a $1.1 billion NPV project that's defined by our preliminary economic assessment. We've got over 6 targets that we imagine to build out from our 22-year mine life to 50, 75, 100 years through intense exploration, which we are undergoing today. Our goal is to have a project that produces approximately 156 million pounds of copper equivalent for 22 years. That's over 5 billion pounds of copper equivalent in our mineable resources, with a distribution of approximately 62% copper and 35% gold. Our project is located in one of the top tier jurisdictions in the world, British Columbia, Canada, where we have currently 6 operations that the province has 6 operations of very similar size and style deposit as ours, which have been all permitted over the last 10 to 20 years. We're also in a jurisdiction that has access to 100% clean and renewable energy, which enables us to consider our project as truly a carbon neutral, carbon net zero project as we move it along to the pre-feasibility and feasibility stage. So everything culminates perfectly for a project that's developable within this 10-year period where the world is calling for a significant supply copper deficit over the next 10 years, and we believe that this project can meet that supply in part.
Okay, when can we expect a pre-feasibility study?
So we issued the PEA in March. We've identified critical path items, including metallurgy, including environmental assessments, including environmental baseline work that we've progressed and are progressing. We've budget approved financing for it. And we look to have our actual engineering work completed by the end of 2022 of next year.
And then you mentioned that your project was in British Columbia, and I understand on Vancouver Island. What is actually Vancouver Island as a sort of a place to do business for the mining industry?
Yeah, so Vancouver Island is bifurcated in 2 parts. One is on the north side and one's on the south side. So obviously the capital of Vancouver Island, Victoria, is based on the south end. We're about 550 kilometers north of that. So we are adjacent to BHP's historical island copper mine, which was in production for 24 years. It's a very similar size and style deposit. What we have, there's a town, Port Hardy, that's about a 20-minute drive from the southern end of our property, and adjacent again to the island copper mine, which was essentially formed through the logging, mining, and fishing industries. We share our tenements with Western Forest Products, who have the logging rights to the surface rights. So we're in a very well logged area for over 2-3 generations of forests. And of course, we've got all the power and infrastructure, brownfields infrastructure that exists from both industries, including a deep sea water port, which currently presides on the BHP Island Copper property and is one of the closest deep sea water ports on continental America to Japan, which is where BHP sold their concentrate to Sumitomo. So similar type concentrate, high premium copper and moly concentrate, which can abide by the highest standards of deleterious elements in the world.
I think the viewers would also be interested to know a little bit about your background, because you haven't always been working for a mining company. I think previously you had an investment banking background.
Correct. So I'm a metallurgist by training. I moved to investment banking about 20 years ago, 21 years ago. So I worked on some of the most formative transactions in our industry. I think during that period, circa 2009, 2011, that's when I really saw the most activity around the copper industry, where it was just evident that there was not enough supply to meet the demand post-global financial crisis growth. And that culminated, obviously, as a result of China coming online aggressively in 2001. And so I've identified this really as the precipice of the next copper boom, perhaps not necessarily led by China at this time, but the rest of the world that are clearly looking to catch up as it relates to the electrification and the decarbonization industries. And I really believe that this is something that, quite frankly, the train has left the station. I don't think that this is an irreversible fact, and copper is the primary metal that is required for any of this to happen. Gold is an incredible byproduct. We have a massive gold byproduct, which, as part of my investment banking career, we've obviously known that gold has incredible option value and has premium valuation to other commodities. In fact, it's more of a currency, and it's a wonderful tool to have as part of a financing, the ability to use as a financing, low cost of financing alternative. So we've really got two of the best commodities that you could be exposed to in this commodity environment, copper and gold, with obviously other byproducts that make the project very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, certainly when we talk to our investors, it's invariably like gold and copper are sort of like 1 and 2, usually alternating places as a sort of like most favored commodity investment. So your answer comes as no surprise. Beneath you, obviously, apart from your considerable expertise, you've assembled a really world-class team. Would you like to tell us a little bit more?
Sure. So I joined about a year ago, and the first person that I brought on was a gentleman named Kevin O'Kane. So Kevin spent over 36 years with BHP. He was actually the chief mining engineer for this neighboring island copper mine for 13 years. So he's lived in Port Hardy. He's got a very good understanding of what can be done and what cannot be done in that region. And he's got the affinity to bring back another prosperous mine into the region, given that he's got a lot of good friends there. So really an incredible individual to have as part of our board and as part of our team. We then started growing the team as part of the concept, or at least to address the concept of developing this in very quick order. So through that, I added a gentleman named Nick Van Dyke, who's our current CFO. I have Michelle Tonge, who's the head of our sustainability and environment, which obviously in Canada, our relationships with First Nations and the communities are integral to our success. And so that process of developing that relationship started months ago, if not years ago. And then, of course, we had a succession planning with our Vice President of Exploration, with Robin Tolbert, essentially moving into that role. He was over 40 years of experience with copper porphyries globally. And my predecessor, Jack McClintock, moved to our Strategic Advisor Committee, which is a very important committee that essentially shepherds the project along, not only from an exploration perspective, but also from a development perspective as well. So between Dale Corman, myself, and all of the individuals that we have on our executive and board, we have over 200 years of experience that's span across many companies and discoveries, including the Spence deposit, of course, being discovered by Jack McClintock, and all of the Escondida, Cirque, Colorado, and others that we've worked on and financed and found. Of course, our chairman, Dale Corman, who just got inducted to the Canadian Mining Hall of Fame last week. Was most in part for developing and discovering and selling Penasquito to Glamis for $1.2 billion. Of course, now one of Newmont Goldcorp's more prolific mines. And so between us, I think we all really have the corners of the earth here as it relates to discovering, developing, operating, and financing these projects into fruition.
And just as one final question, you talked a lot about the developability of the project being obviously a key, unique selling point. But is like your vision and NorthIsle Copper and Gold's vision to go and take the company into production, or would you look to go and sell off like once you've had the pre-feasibility study done?
Yeah, so we could clearly only control our strategy, and our strategy is to move this project along through every single stage gate, right? And that can potentially be including through production. The reality is selling a company is not a strategy, it's an outcome. And I think that it's an outcome that happens if the strategy is well in effect. And I think, quite frankly, our view is that we've got the right process to de-risk this through each stage gate, through the permitting process, which is in BC is probably one of the most important value add activities that you can progress. And then ensuring we have a project that is supported by our communities, First Nation groups, and our other stakeholders. And then at the point where we have to make a production decision, we will. I think that the financeability of this project is very, very meaningful, but it's also within our purview. Just to put things in perspective, 35% revenue coming from gold. That's about 100,000 ounces of recoverable gold a year for 22 years. If you were to put a stream on that at 5% cost of capital, $400 ongoing payment, $1,650 gold, that's a $1.2 billion US upfront payment for that stream. That's our byproduct. So I need people to understand how significant that is. And so as it relates to the entire CapEx, this is a meaningful alternative low-cost capital finance that we can progress in due course. Obviously, we will be judicious and responsible as to how we access any sources of financing through these stage gates. But I just wanted to give people the understanding that everything is within our purview. This is a very, very developable project. It's about 75,000 tons per day. And as I said, 153 million pounds of copper equivalent production a year for 22 years. So at every stage gate, we'll make the right decision. At every stage gate, moving it forward, we'll obviously add the right people in order to achieve the next success of our goal. And anything outside of that is really out of our control. And if we are successful, then that's just really a ratification of the success of our strategy.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Sam. Delighted to go and have you on our show. That was Sam Lee, Chief Executive Officer of NorthIsle Copper and Gold. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard.